I don't believe that we have ever put in any job advertisement, bullies welcome. And the reason I say that is the bit that's got me puzzled, because I'm out and about a lot, is that when I meet the team, whether they're senior managers, the front line, whether there are cleaners or whether there are technicians or whatever else it is, I mean, maybe I've struck lucky. I don't think so. I've never met somebody that I thought was a bully, but it goes on. And the question that I have, and I don't have an answer yet, is maybe there's something that we are doing that is putting people in a situation where they either feel that's okay or they feel that's what they have to do to get the outcome. I don't know. I don't know. And I hope that part of this process that we're doing will start to understand the reasons for why. Because my overall impression is that people are proud to be here and they're magnificent people, but it definitely goes on. It definitely needs to stop. But I am also interested in what's causing it. I'd really like to understand that too. And it may well be, you know, and by the way, Tim, when I'm out and about, if you have some information you can give me around what you think is driving this reality, I would love to know, because then maybe we can figure out what the root cause of the problem is and really stop it at source.
A genuine desire and commitment by both parties at the highest level to change the culture in this industry and do the right thing by people, you know, create a fairer work environment for everybody, etc. So off of the back of those conversations and that start point, we've started trying to deal with some of the long outstanding issues on culture. Previously, it was at the bottom of the agenda, culture and trust. And our opinion is it's got to be top of the agenda. If you can change the culture in Royal Mail from what it is at the moment, or it has been, then it can make a massive difference, not just a small difference, a massive difference. So, you know, it's important that we show leadership on that. And that's what we was trying to do last week. So I know that in terms of the culture in the workplace, it's going to take time. Culture takes a long time to turn around. I can tell everyone, someone's saying about adult conversations, that they are adult conversations. There's a lot of disquiet in the management community because suddenly they're being challenged about how we treat people, how we talk to people, how have we tried to get the best out of people, etc., etc. So everyone's getting challenged here to turn this business into the place to work and the place we want our children that are working. Seeing the comments from people, it was positive. I think that went down well, that the guy was prepared to come on and sit there and take questions and answer them in the candid way that he did. So it's another positive. Chris, I understand, of course we understand the cynicism. We've been here so many times before and been let down when we've got agreements. But, you know, you have to be optimistic. And for me, I speak as I find. So at this moment in time, we made the agreement. We're totally aligned on that agreement, right at the very top, up to the CEO, as far as I'm concerned. And what we're trying to do is make that happen and make a difference so that we suck all the energy out of the cynicism and people actually do say, well, this is different. Because, you know, we've got lots of work to do. There's revisions and everything else that's going on. We are talking about change for the future. It's positive change. We're talking about growth. We're talking about recruitment, not the loss of jobs. There's not many companies or industries that are in that position at the moment. So we're in that position. It's an opportunity that's before us, and we're determined to grasp it. So don't forget, there's going to be other criteria for managers. One, their trust, the relationship they're building in the workplace. More and more, the company are going to be measuring their managers on that. So they're going to have a look in the mirror about how they treat people. That's what they're going to have to do. The managers, that's what they're finding challenging. I'll come on to them managers' comments in a minute, Chris, but I'm just talking about us as a trade union. So I want to be, you know, I've always said, you know, we travel in hope, but we carry a big stick. We're not having unfairness anymore. We're not having that sort of nonsense where you're deliberately undermining something because that creates a bad culture in the office. It don't create the right morale. It don't create the workforce that we want and we're committed to delivering. So, Paul, first thing would be this. If a manager is doing it, then it's up to all of you guys in the office and the union rep, whoever it is, you stand together and say, you're deliberately undermining our opportunity here to be covered by an agreement which is based on fairness, and we're going to go to a disagreement, and we'll expose you. And if necessary, we'll have mediators in, and you will become exposed. And by the way, the manager, you'll then be judged because you've got an office with a poxy culture, and they'll suffer because of that. So it won't happen, Paul. If it does happen, it's got to be challenged. I'm not saying we're, you know, skipping through some field and there'll never be arguments, there'll never be rows. I'm not saying we won't never have a challenge with the CEO. What I'm saying is, psychologically, our vision for this industry now is aligned. And that's not something to be embarrassed about. That is what we fought for 4 years. And our members will benefit out of it, and so will the next generation of postal workers. So if you have that problem, it's got to be addressed. That's not to say every manager's bad. I know there's good managers out there. But every bad manager gives every good manager a bad name, you know, and it's whether it's down to managerial training, whatever it is. But the real powerhouse of this business is to have positive relationships, respect and dignity for people, empathy for people, sympathy when they make a mistake. Everyone makes mistakes. We're all humans. Or when people are in a bit of bother, you know, let's stick with our people, because they've proven this year, whatever individuals may think of them, our people, as we've always said, are the best. And it shouldn't be that they are loved and appreciated and thanked on the doorstep, but then when they walk into their place of work, they feel as though there's something underneath somebody else's shoe. That's outrageous. They should have that same feeling, which would be a powerful motivator as well. I think they should have that same feeling when they walk into work. You know, they should be genuinely appreciated and applauded for what they do. Well, it's you know, so nice to hear that, isn't it, from the CEO of the company. And it's the other bit to add to that is when Simon's talking about reinventing this great British icon, we have always believed that it's ridiculous to think that this great public service, which it still is, can't be built upon and can't be here for generations to come. And our ambition is to still have postal workers coming up people's paths in years to come. And I can't see any reason why there shouldn't be. What was attacking Royal Mail, as far as we was concerned, ever since privatisation, was the lack of ambition. And if anything, the sense that people wanted to chop bits off of it. Whereas the conversation now is not, it's about growing that. It's about trying to open up other revenue streams that enable us to protect this great public service. In terms of people being proud to be postal workers, well, that's exactly what we've done. I think what's happening when you have bad trust and bad culture, bad relationships, I think it's draining. It's been draining on the organisation, it's been draining on our people, and we forget, I think our people forget what an amazing job they do. As Simon's already touched on, people being loved and trusted and appreciated on the doorstep, and there's no question of that, the British public, and especially coming out of this pandemic, what they feel of postal workers. But we've always had the reputation that the postal workers always get through. Extreme weather, everything. You know, Ian Porter, the golfer, that's what they call him, the postman. He always delivers in the Ryder Cup. The postal workers always get, I mean, we should be so proud to be postmen. I am absolutely proud that I was a postman and still consider myself a postman. So to make that relevant for the modern day, to keep that here for people, to create really decent jobs for decent people, and we're now talking about job creation, not decline. You know, it's everything we wanted. This is what, as far as I'm concerned, as a union, this is what we fought for. This is our opportunity, but we've got to take it now. And we've got to stop this draining relationship in the workplace. If we're so trusted, so appreciated, so loved on the doorstep, why don't people feel like that when they're in work? We've got to deal with that. And this survey is a real first chance for anyone to express their views and let us know, because we will then shape initiatives going forward to improve the trust and the culture within the workplace. It's great news to hear people talking about this great British icon with ambition and with a determination to make it seed and still be around for years to come. It's absolutely everything we wanted in terms of us standing up trying to defend it.
Terry, if you don't mind, I'll just add on that. Is, you know, we're doing a day in the life of, when I joined, I had a couple of days within the manager. Angelica in Wimbledon, thank you very much. John, who looked after me when I was down in Cobham as well, thank you very much. But Anna in Sale, Anna, I don't know if you're out there or someone knows who you are out there, but Anna, if you're not on the line, I hope someone lets you know that I name checked you, because it's thanks to Anna that we're actually making. Anna's doing a test for us. I realize that we ask our delivery office managers to do 126 things a day. That's one thing every 4 minutes. Some days 186 things a day. That's one thing every 2.5 minutes. We give them, I thought it was 206 policies. It's actually 212. The industry standard's 25. You know, and as Terry said, under those conditions, how on earth can some of our frontline managers actually spend the time with the people, you know, building trust, really focusing on what we need to do for the customers? So we do have our part to play as well. And Terry, thank you very much. You reminded me of that. And it's, I just wanted to add a little bit more flavor. By the way, new ways of working for the delivery office managers. I'm optimistic about it. The trials are going really well, and maybe it'll be everywhere, maybe September time, also in time for everyone getting perhaps nice shiny new PDAs. Let's wait and see.
You know, there's nothing more, I don't know, pathetic than someone who's been given a managerial title and suddenly thinks they're all powerful and they don't have to respect, they don't have to say please and thank you, they don't have to talk to people in the right way. I think it's pathetic. It's not. That's not a strong manager. A strong leader concentrates on how to motivate his people and how to look after them and make sure, you know, they're inspired every day to do what we do. That's a good, strong manager, not the other side. And if they're out there, and well, we know there is. We know. Listen, Simon Thompson said he's not seen one as yet. But obviously, wherever he goes, everyone's on their best behaviour. You know, you don't need the brains of Lloyd George to work that out, and I'm sure he works that out and all. And it's the same when we turn up. But we know it's out there, and those people, really and truthfully, that article in the Mail, then that should force some of these managers to have a look in the mirror. And is that you? Is it you we're talking about? Is it just a small minority? But even if it is, you look in the mirror and you know, sort yourself out, because it ain't going to be tolerated. And that's all the initiatives we're doing now, Chris, is to really give us the proper, truthful insight as to what's going on in all of our workplaces, which is why this trust survey, get involved in it. You know what I mean? I want to encourage people. I think we've got another 2 weeks for that to run, but do it now. Do it tonight. If you're genuine about some of the horrific stories we hear and how you want it to change and everything else, then get involved with that initiative, because that is going to give us, you know, a view into every single unit in the country if people participate. And from there, we will build action plans where we will come in, especially where it's ultra negative. And we will continue to do that in the future. So try and, you know, park your cynicism, because I do believe we will prove you wrong. Absolutely. Things will change. But you've got to help us with that by telling us what you think of where you work, etc. You won't be identified as an individual. It's by unit, but it gives us the platform then for us, divisional reps, regional organisers in Parcel Force. This isn't just Royal Mail letters. We know that's a massive part of our organisation, but all the other business units in fleet and engineering and etc., MDEX, etc. It's everybody. And but it gives our representatives in the field and the managers in the field at all levels an opportunity to sit down and say, well, you know, why has this come back from that unit? We want to know why, and we want, what is the plan to change it? So if you really want change and you want it to be different, participate, fill in the survey, bring it to our attention, and there'll be action plans put in place everywhere. There's already initiatives I've seen that Simon's putting in place. And that is the fact that, you know, we have this, you know, people say it's us versus them, and we have all this type of situations. We know there's some good relationships out there, but I really genuinely believe that local managers especially, but maybe throughout all levels, I don't know so much about that, but I don't think local managers have been allowed to manage. I don't think they've had the autonomy they need. I don't think they've had the support to build relationships. I think we've been in a situation where managers have been sitting in the office all day staring at a computer, when really they should be out in the office working with people, you know, getting solutions from our people, moving forward. Where you see the strongest relationships is where they talk on a regular basis, they talk to each other with respect, they treat people like human beings, and and Vicky Verkey, and that's what it is. So I think I can say that I believe Simon's looked at the role of a local manager and some of the things that they've been expected to do during the course of the day, and the demands that have been placed on them from people that are not in the office, not facing that daily situation, have sometimes, I think, put them in an impossible situation. So they don't necessarily need me or want me probably to make any defence of it. But I'm saying, if we're going to change the relationship, then everyone's got to be given the support and the ability to be able to work at that relationship. And equally, a local manager and a local representative and the people locally have got to have a sense of autonomy, that on a daily basis, whatever the challenge is on that day, that they deal with it. And whatever people think are up the chain, then they will have to justify the actions that they took. But given the responsibility, they're the ones who actually know the answers. We've always known the best answers come from the workplace. People are actually doing the job. So, you know, I think we've turned it on its head. And when it's looking at strategy going forward, I think culture was right at the bottom of it. Now we're putting culture and trust right at the top. So there's no use saying we want to be here in 5 years' time, but we haven't changed the culture, because there'll be a drag effect, there'll be a fallout, we haven't improved relationships. So everyone's got to give it a chance. If we've got wrong-uns in the organisation, anywhere, if we've got wrong-uns, I've said it before, they're going to get exposed, because these surveys will expose it. If there's an office that constantly is telling us, or even on this survey, it's appalling in here, well, we're going to come in and deal with it. So there's no hiding place. So people are going to have to really concentrate and work hard at these relationships and be given, as I say, the autonomy and the support to do it. That's why I think it's going to be different for a local manager. As for the managers who put these statements, and Chris, you showed them to me, about we're giving away millions of pounds, those managers, whoever they are, and if they're listening, you are part of the problem. You are part of the problem, because if that's how you look at our people, like, oh, I've got to give them people some money. They are owed that money. You've been exploiting part-timers for the last 5, 6 years. You as a manager could have done something about that, and you've done nothing about it for them people. So don't give it to me that now we've got an agreement that's fair, that you as a manager think we're giving the money away. And by the way, wake up, because Unite, representing the managers, had a deal on this before our agreement. It's not the same as our agreement, but they had done a deal on it. They done a deal on it first from managers that do overtime. I can only assume those managers, Chris, are on the type of contract and salary where they don't get overtime, which means they're earning a nice few quid. So stop having a pop at our people that deliver everything on this business, that deliver the public in terms of our brand and do a magnificent job. Start looking at them as our assets and not as your enemy or someone that you just want to give pittance to. We're not here for the scraps off of your table, mate. We had to deal with this in Parcelforce, and our way we dealt with back in the days, I don't know how it's dealt with now, was even if you've not got much work that day and someone asks you to take a bit of work, what makes sense is to take a bit of work like next to you or within the within the vicinity that you work. I think what really puts people out, and it would have put me out as a postman, I'd be on that absolutely, is when someone says to you, you come in the morning and you think you're going to do your walk, which you're very familiar with, which you know how to prep quite quickly and get organised, and you know where everything is. And then someone says to you, by the way, no, you're going over the other side of the town. But they don't even ask you in the right way. They just tell you and say it's a reasonable request. They don't, there's none of this, can anyone help out? We've got this problem and all that sort of, the approach is all wrong for a start in a lot of the complaints I hear. But also there seems to be a complete lack of empathy of when you do that, then by definition, the ability for you to make a mistake is greater in terms of the prep. The ability for your productivity to be less is greater because you're not familiar with that walk, you're not familiar with a frame, etc., etc. And I think where the bullying bit comes in, Chris, is people are, if they have to do it, they don't like doing it, but if they have to do it, they then also got the psychological problem of knowing they could easily make a mistake and they're not going to get done today because it's going to take them longer to prep, and they will come under some sort of discipline as a consequence, because that's the sort of thing that's happened. Not empathy. Listen, I understand you ain't to be able to do it like you do your other job, etc. There's none of that, is there? And that's the emotional intelligence bit that's so lacking from some of the people who call themselves managers and leaders in the workplace. Because to me, having been a postman, I absolutely, all them years ago, but I can still remember if I was asked to do a different walk, when I first come in and I didn't know the frame, it is a form of stress, isn't it? Because everyone else is going out the door and you're still stood there trying to work it out and things like that. So it's about training, it's about familiarisation. We don't have rotates no more, so people are by and large on their own job. We're told that you should create this great bond with the public and the trust on the doorstep and everything else. But all of that is at risk if we're moving people uneconomically and unnecessarily just because we haven't got the resourcing right. If these revisions get the resourcing right, then there's no reason why that shouldn't drop. In my opinion, the resourcing should ensure that you're not forever moving people every other day. And I don't know if it is every other day, but where I've been and spoke to people, that has been their biggest complaint. In fact, when we were doing the 2018 agreement and we was in that dispute, we had management were telling us that was the main reason that people were back in the union, because they didn't like lapsing and absorption, and they were promising to get rid of it. So it needs a real lot of thought to it, because it definitely throws people out. It's definitely something people don't like. I think if you have to do it, it's got to be done in a way that you don't massively affect productivity, or you can't expect people to do the same as they would have done on their other job. There's got to be more understanding. But the real answer to it, if you want the best productivity, the best relationships on the doorstep, then you've got to try and let people sort of own their walk in that sense. You know what I mean? Because the night, I know what it's like. The night before, you're thinking about going into work the next day, etc., what you're going to do, what you ain't going to do. And then suddenly it's turned on its head, because you're not just asked to take a bit of the walk next to you. You're asked to go right over the other side of the office, which, geographically could be an area that you're totally unfamiliar with. So, because let's be honest, when people come into Royal Mail these days, the training ain't been fantastic. It's gone more and more back to if you can steam up the mirror, and it ain't good enough. The training ain't better. We used to have like 2 weeks of training. We are professionals, postal workers. I will always argue that. We are professionals, and we should be able to conduct ourselves with pride. And there hasn't been enough pride in the job, and that's because of the way things have been done in the workplace. Whether it's resourcing, whether it's moving people around, it's a nothing job. No disrespect to a labourer, but you don't need a skill set. Well, of course you do, and we should play that up. We should have proper training, but it's got to be dealt with. If we don't deal with it, then we won't have succeeded in re-establishing trust and changing the culture in the workplace. And I'm aware of a lot of that. I mean, a lot of that be before Simon got here, but I'm sure he hears the stories, and I certainly don't hesitate to appraise him of some of those situations. But it's the same as when we've had managers who haven't been able to form good relationships in one office, and we move them to another office, and lo and behold, then there's bad relationships again and things. But I don't want to make this all about managers, because I think in previous years gone by, I think managers have almost been encouraged to be that way, to not form relationships with us, but basically this view where workers are just told what they should do, and they shouldn't have any intelligence. They shouldn't be able to say that change things that might do the business better and things like that. No ideas, just do as you're told. And I think in the past that's been encouraged. Now that may be an uncomfortable truth, as far as I'm concerned. That's the truth, and people don't want to hear it. But that's what this is about. Unless we get those things dealt with, Bob, unless people are confident and trust the people dealing with them, then it won't work. So we've absolutely got to get past all that stuff. We've got to deal with it, and we've got to be straight with everybody.